Imagine this. One day, your childhood friend, the one you haven't seen in years, suddenly returns to visit you. So you and your other close friend decide to hang out and catch up on lost time. But then it's revealed that both girls are in love with you and you're forced to choose between them. That is the gist of Yanderella. Developed and published by Charon, Yanderella tells the story of a high school student named Yatarou who has been friends with two beautiful girls since childhood. One of them is the shy and feminine Hinata, who moved away years ago. The other is the tough and tomboyish Honoka, who has always stayed by his side. When Hinata returns for a visit, the three of them start spending time together. However, as the day passes, both girls become increasingly possessive and clingy. Yatarou is eventually forced to choose one of them, a decision he must make very carefully, otherwise it could end up costing his life. The game begins with our protagonist Yatarou dreaming about his childhood friend Hinata. In that dream, she tells him that she is his bride, fated to marry him, and asks if he can cast a spell on her. A dialogue choice appeared, giving him the option to cast the spell or ignore her. After he chooses to cast the spell, the game shows us that this is the first day. Side note here, the game is divided into 4 days, and only the third day is where the choices matter because of a certain event that will determine the ending we'll get. After casting the spell, Yatarou is woken up by a red-haired girl named Honoka, the second main heroine. Honoka asks what he was dreaming about and then teases him, saying it might have been a dirty dream. Surprised to see her in his room, Yatarou calls her an intruder. Honoka brushed it off, reminding him that she had already told him she would come to wake him up. She explained that Hinata is coming to visit today, and since they haven't seen each other in years, she wants to surprise her by meeting her at the station. After some lighthearted dialogue, we finally control Yatarou. Before we continue, let's talk a bit about the gameplay. Yanderella has two main gameplay mechanics. The primary one is the visual novel style, where you read dialogues and make choices. The second is an RPG Maker style exploration segment where you control Yatarou. You can save by interacting with the bunny in Yatarou's room. Saving frequently is important because the game has multiple choices, and that's basically all you need to know about the gameplay. It's not too hard to understand and you'll get used to it pretty quickly. Anyway, Yatarou and Honoka make their way to the station. While waiting for Hinata, Honoka suddenly needs to use the restroom and leaves Yatarou alone. Moments later, Hinata arrives and immediately spots him. She immediately asks if he still remembers her and repeats the same word from his dream where she told him that she is his bride and the princess destined to marry him. She then asks him to cast a spell on her. When Yatarou does so, Hinata grabs him and pulls him close. Just as she was about to explain why she returned, Honoka arrives and pulls them apart. She then angrily called Yatarou a pervert and hits him. Yatarou apologized even though it wasn't his fault to begin with, and the three of them had a long conversation about the past. During the conversation, Hinata suggests they hang out to catch up. Yatarou proposed going to their all-secret base, but Honoka sadly tells him that it was demolished long ago. Hinata refused to believe it and insists on seeing the place for herself. When they arrive at the now-destroyed secret base, Hinata is visibly shocked. Honoka explains that the landlord ordered the demolition years ago, and there's nothing she can do about it because the decision is final. She did, however, place a gravestone there as a memorial, just so they never forget about the place that holds a lot of memory for them. While she explains more stuff to Hinata, Honoka noticed fresh flowers were placed on the gravestone and realized Yatarou was the one who did it. This surprises Honoka because she was convinced that Yatarou had changed ever since Hinata moved away. She was glad that was not the case and Yatarou was still the same as before. Upon hearing this, Hinata looks guilty and apologizes. Yatarou then for some reason decided it was a good idea to confess his love to her only to get a thank you in return. I'm sorry Yatarou, why in the hell would you say that? Why? After talking a bit more about the past, the three of them head home. That night, Yatarou receives email from both girls asking him to meet them. Honoka wants to meet at the pier while Hinata wants to meet at the secret base. Now here, Yatarou will get to choose between the two of them and further deepen their relationship. Also, the events leading up to this email are mostly the same in every route with only minor dialogue differences. So with that being said, the next chapter will dive straight into the individual routes. Yatarou thought for a moment before finally deciding to meet up with Hinata. As he approached her, Hinata's face lit up with a bright, genuine smile. She had believed he would come to see her and he did. She then told him how despite dyeing his hair and acting like a delinquent, he was still the same Yatarou on the inside, and then admitted that's one of the reasons why she liked him. Her words left Yatarou speechless for a moment before he suddenly blurted out, "Marry me." Hinata giggled and asked if he remembered the promise they made on the day she left. Before he could answer, she'd cut him off, saying she already knew he remembered. After talking for a little longer, the two parted ways. That night, Yatarou went to bed excited to see her again the next day. The next day, Yatarou received an email from Honoka saying they were waiting for him at the park. Realizing he was 30 minutes late, he hurriedly rushed over. When he arrived, Honoka scolded him for making them wait since morning. Yatarou apologized and the three of them headed to the station to hang out. Once there, Honoka suggested that Yatarou should pay for everything since it was his fault they had wasted so much time. He begrudgingly agreed and treated them to a nice meal. After eating, they wandered around until they reached a bookstore. There, Hinata found an emotional manga she thought would be perfect for Yatarou. A manga about a boy in love with two different girls. Oddly specific, but okay. She asked for his thought on the book, but before he could answer, Honoka suddenly smelled something awful. Turns out, our boy Yatarou crapped his pants. He quickly excused himself, and here's where the game gets serious. While he was gone, Hinata dropped her cutesy act and turned serious. She opened up the conversation by telling Honoka that the two of them acted like a married couple. Honoka denied it and told her that she just got along with him very well. Realizing that Honoka is lying, Hinata revealed her true feelings for Yatarou and planned to confess to him. Hearing this surprises Honoka and she was struggling to answer her. In the end, she gave Hinata her blessing and even told her to go for it. Hinata was relieved to hear that because she wouldn't want to have Honoka as a rival. She then ended the conversation by calling Honoka her best friend and asking her to root for her love, further rubbing salt into the wound. When Yatarou finally returned, both girls acted as if nothing happened. They spent some more time together before heading home. That night, Yatarou received emails from both girls again. Without hesitation, he went straight to the secret base to meet Hinata. Nothing really interesting going on this time. Hinata reminisced about their childhood and mentioned how much the town had changed. She felt like she had been left behind. Yatarou offered her some word of encouragement which she happily accepted. The day ended similarly to the first night. The third day is where things finally get interesting. Yatarou woke up and received an email from Hinata saying they were waiting for him at the park. Once again, he was 30 minutes late. Honoka was ready to punish him by making him treat them again, but Hinata rejected the idea and insisted on paying this time. God bless her. The three of them decide to go to the arcade, which conveniently was located inside the station. Arriving at the arcade, the three of them walk around for a while taking pictures together before eventually finding a claw machine with a cute plushie inside. Both girls tried their luck but failed to win anything. Frustrated, Honoka asked Yatarou to get it for them. After a bit of struggle, he managed to grab one. A prompt then appeared with three choices: give it to Honoka, give it to Hinata, or keep the plushies for himself. After thinking about it, Yatarou decided to give the plushie to Hinata. The moment Honoka saw this, something inside her broke, and it's perfectly shown to us when the game cuts to a cutscene showing Honoka having complete mental breakdown. In that cutscene, she questioned why Yatarou gave the plushie to Hinata instead of her. She even wished she hadn't been there at all, because then the gift would have been hers. The scene then returns to normal, but you can sense something was wrong. While Hinata happily accepted the plushie, Honoka simply stared at her coldly. The game then cuts to nighttime where Yatarou received emails from both girls. While Hinata's email looked cute and cheerful, Honoka was short, containing only 4 words: waiting at the pier. Now, he could go and meet her, but Hinata is much more important than that. Besides, what's the worst that could happen, right? When he arrived at the secret base, Hinata was already waiting for him. She opened the conversation by saying how much fun she had that day and how she wished every day could be like this. She then expressed her sadness, telling him that her time here was almost over and she would soon have to return to Tokyo. However, she didn't want to leave. Hinata then hugged Yatarou tightly and finally confessed her feelings to him. Yatarou reciprocated, hugging her back. The day ended with him lying in bed, wondering whether his decision to pick one of the 2 girls was the right thing to do. We then see Honoka monologuing about her unfortunate love. She reveals that she is also in love with Yatarou ever since they were children. When Hinata moved away, she thought she finally had a chance. Even though Yatarou stopped hanging out with her, she kept trying to get closer to him. But the more she tried, the harder he pushed her away. She then wondered why Hinata came back and cursed her for ruining her chances with him. Later, we see both girls at the park. Honoka finally admits to Hinata that she is also in love with Yatarou. However, Hinata already knew that and didn't seem to care. She then asks Honoka to give up on Yatarou since he had already chosen her, a statement she'll regret soon because it will end up costing her life. The final day starts with Hinata alone in Yatarou's room. He had invited her over because his parents were out for the day. We already know what's about to happen, so a quick warning, this scene contains mild NSFW stuff. It's nothing too graphic, but consider yourself warned. Yatarou slowly removes her clothes, and just as they were about to do the deed, Honoka suddenly bursts into the room. She stares at them with her cold, blank eyes and pulls out a pair of scissors. The screen cuts to black, accompanied by the horrifying sound of repeated stabbing. A few moments later, we see the same scene at the start of the game where Honoka woke Yatarou up. The conversation plays out almost exactly the same, except this time, Honoka never mentioned Hinata at all. This convinces Yatarou that everything he experienced was just a dream. Hinata never came back. Honoka was the only one who was with him all these years. So it only made sense that she was his girlfriend, right? As the two of them kiss, something catches Yatarou's attention, and that's where reality hits him. Behind Honoka was a bloody box. The moment he sees it, the illusion shatters. He realized that it's not a dream. Hinata did come back and was killed by Honoka. He tries to get up and run, but Honoka has him tightly strapped to a chair. As he struggles desperately to free himself, her maniacal laughter echoes throughout the room. She tells him that everything is his own fault and that if he could go back, he should have chosen her. The game ends with Honoka pulling down Yatarou's pants and using the scissors to cut off his dick before leaving him bleeding to death. We are now starting the second route. As I mentioned before, things are fairly similar to the first route, with the only major difference being the dialogue. The choices are still the same, except they lean more towards Honoka. Since most of them are similar, I'll only go over to the important one. On the first night after receiving the email, Yatarou chooses to meet up with Honoka at the pier. When the two met, Honoka told him how much she appreciated the flower he left, saying it showed that he still cared about them. She then asked why he suddenly distanced himself and turned into a delinquent. Yatarou admitted that he had done it because he felt lonely after Hinata moved to Tokyo. Hearing this, Honoka breathed a sigh of relief. All this time, she had thought Yatarou changed because he hated her. She was glad to know that wasn't the case. She encouraged him to use this opportunity to change for the better, reminding him that Hinata wouldn't be around forever. She was only visiting for a short break and would return to Tokyo soon. After talking for a bit more, the two parted ways. Nothing really crazy happened on the second night. The only notable event was Honoka baking cookies for Yatarou while the two reminisce about how they used to spend a lot of time together as kids. Things became serious on the third day. After winning a plushie from the claw machine, Yatarou decided to give it to Honoka. This clearly upsets Hinata. The screen flashes red, showing Hinata having a mental breakdown because she wasn't chosen. It then cuts back to Honoka happily accepting the plushie while Hinata glared at her coldly. That night, after reading the email, Yatarou met Honoka at the pier where she finally confessed her feelings for him. The final day played out similarly to Hinata's route, except this time, Yatarou got to do it with Honoka. The dialogue is the same as before, so I think we can go straight to the important part. As Yatarou was about to remove the last piece of her clothing, the screen suddenly went black and we can hear the sound of something being violently pounded by a blunt object, followed by a horrifying image of Hinata covered in blood. The scene then cuts to Hinata waking Yatarou up and then asking him the same question Honoka had asked at the start of the route. Yatarou then looked outside and noticed it was already morning. He then realizes that everything that he had experienced was nothing but a nightmarish dream. A long, nightmarish dream. In reality, Hinata had never moved away and the two of them had been dating for years. But then, Yatarou realized something was wrong. When Hinata leaned in for a kiss, he caught a glimpse of what was behind her. What he saw made his blood run cold and brought him back to reality. Behind Hinata was Honoka's corpse. She was hanged from the ceiling. Blood covered her entire body. When Yatarou saw this, My Honoka's dead! I'm sorry, but why is this an option? This completely broke my immersion, oh my god! Anyway, seeing Honoka die in the most brutal way possible shattered Yatarou's mind. He ran out of the house in a panic as Hinata chased after him with a sword, laughing maniacally. Eventually, he reached the forest, but exhaustion has already taken over. He tripped over a rock and seconds later Hinata caught up to him, still laughing uncontrollably. She told him that running away was useless as she would catch him no matter how far he went. Then, in her delusional state, Hinata imagined herself as Cinderella and invited him to a ball. Realizing that Hinata had completely lost her mind, Yatarou desperately tried to drag himself away. When she saw this, Hinata told him to give up, but he ignored her and kept crawling. Seeing that her prince wouldn't listen, Hinata decided that it's better if she cut off his limbs. Slowly, one by one. The game ends with Yatarou remembering about the past and his promise to Hinata as he slowly dies. And finally, we have the bad ending. This route would have had its own section, but since everything is pretty much the same until the third day, I'll just cover that part. In this ending, when Yatarou is given the choice of who to give the plushie to, he decides to keep it for himself. This led to a rather boring conclusion where Yatarou and the two girls simply remain friends forever. For some reason, the game considered this a bad ending? How? How is this a bad ending? Yanderella is a weird game. It doesn't have a complex story because as you play through it, you kind of figure out what the story is about. But for me, after playing it 4 times, I'm beginning to have questions. Like, why did they turn into a Yandere? Were they always like that? Why do both characters look like they're hiding some trauma? Playing through this game made me realize that there might be more to this than just a simple Yandere game. Now, before we go into this, let me talk a bit about Cinderella first. I'm sure everybody know that fairy tale, so to give you guys a summary, Cinderella tells the story of a girl named Cinderella who was mistreated by her cruel stepmother and stepsisters. The theme of this story is kindness, inner beauty, patience, and triumph over wickedness and cruelty. In the real world, it describes a person whose merits or talents are ignored, or who is treated poorly until they suddenly receive the recognition they deserve. Now, why is it important that I mention Cinderella? Well, that's because when you start the game, you are given a short story about Cinderella. Why? It seems so out of place since it's only mentioned a few times throughout the game. What is the connection? Well, what if I tell you that the story you thought was randomly mentioned at the beginning actually describes our heroine perfectly? Let's start analyzing the heroine. For Hinata, it's obvious already that she considers herself as Cinderella. In the game, Hinata comes back to visit her friend, but most importantly, she's there to meet with Yatarou, her prince, as she would describe him. She is depicted as this happy, cheerful, and beautiful girl, and throughout her route, we can see that she really loves Yatarou, which is why when she turned into a Yandere, it didn't feel weird. It felt natural. Someone she loved was taken away from her, so the only thing left to do was murder that person. Typical Yandere behavior. Now for Honoka, that's a bit hard to pinpoint because she doesn't act like Cinderella. To me, she's much more like one of Cinderella's stepsister. She's outgoing and loud, but at the same time, she's never honest with herself. Now here's the big question. Why did they do this? It's easy to say that both girls had their lover taken away, so that's why they became a Yandere and killed the other. But looking into it deeper, it's much more than that. For Hinata, it was revealed that she never wanted to move away from this town. But because of her parents, who had high expectation of her and forced her to become this perfect straight-A student, she had to comply and follow her parents. She never wanted to leave, but because of her fear of disappointing the people around her and her fear of being an outcast, which could lead to bullying, Hinata had to put up a fake persona that slowly ate her away. But still, despite all of that, she had hope. Much like the prince in Cinderella's story, Yatarou is Hinata's beacon of hope. He was the only thing that made her feel normal. This is why she's obsessed with him and is afraid of losing him, because losing Yatarou means losing her only hope. We experienced this firsthand when we let Honoka win. In that moment, you can see the color drain from her eyes. She lost her hope, and coupled with the stress of maintaining this fake persona, she snapped and at that moment became a crazy, possessive murderer who only wants her lover back, dead or alive. As for Honoka, it was revealed that she had also been in love with Yatarou all along. Though her love was one-sided, she knew that Yatarou loved Hinata and she was jealous of that. So when Hinata moved away, for the first time, she felt like she had a chance. Except she didn't. Yatarou never gave her one. He stopped hanging out with her and eventually stopped meeting with her altogether. Still, Honoka didn't give up and kept trying to be with him, but this only made him distance himself from her even more. You can imagine how stressful that must have been trying to be with someone who didn't love you back. And when Hinata came back, Honoka experienced even more stress, mainly because her rival had returned. She didn't realize it, but inside, something was slowly rising and building up inside of her, until it manifested itself as a second personality. You can see this in the second true ending. Honoka is seen talking to herself, telling the other personality how she should have just taken Yatarou by force. But here, she still managed to control it. That is, until the moment she discovered Hinata in Yatarou's room. That's where the dam burst and her other personality took over, turning her into this angry, jealous, murderous Yandere girl. Thank you so much for watching. Yanderella is one heck of a game. At first I thought it's going to be a normal Yandere game, but then I found out that it's much more than that. It's one of those games where you don't really expect too much from it, but then it surprises you with its deep story and interesting lore. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. We are so close to 100k subscribers and I am thankful for everyone who subscribed. It means a lot to me that people love the stuff I'm doing here, so again, thank you. Oh, and if you made it at the end, let's confuse the people who didn't watch until the very end by commentating "Very nice, Mr. Redalish." That'll be fun. Thank you again for watching. Like the video so I know you enjoyed it. Check out my previous video if you haven't yet and become a member to support the channel and get more interesting stuff in the future. That's all. See you.